guys, welcome back to Under the Influence. I'm one of your three co-hosts, Jude Crane, joined by my brother, Jerry Crane, and his other brother, Jerry Crane. It's a real pleasure to welcome you back to our experience here. As always, you can find us on Discord at Christian Influence and on Instagram at also Christian Influence and on TikTok as also Christian Influence.
Pretty much everything you said.
I'm pretty much Owen Wilson at this point.
Pretty much everything you said.
Pretty much everywhere.
Pretty much everything.
Pretty much everything.
Instagram is official Christian Influence.
Instagram is a concept that you've created in your mind. It's not even real for your mind. I'm gaslighting our entire audience. And I'm drowning you out.
Alright, roll the intro.
Evening, officer. Is something wrong?
Don't worry, son. Routine traffic stop. We got reports of someone driving under the influence. You know anything about that?
Oh, wouldn't it be me? I'm only under one influence.
And what would that be?
The influence of Jesus.
It's time for Under the Influence.
Yeah, we don't want to do anything to scare your children.
And we're back with the official Christian Influence experience. We're now going to transition into the talking section. I'll be back with you later.
Hey, Jerry. Hey, Levi. Hey, guys. Welcome back to the official Christian Influence podcast titled Under the Influence. Season 2, episode 13. Halfway there. We're basically done with the second season.
Episode 4.
It's episode 6, halfway there.
It's a pleasure to be back with you boys.
You boys.
You boys.
You boy. Ah,
Yeah,
ya
boy.
boys.
Yeah, your boy gets a shout out, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey, you boy.
Got him.
That was it.
Yeah.
Levi.
Levi, get your hands out of your pouch. You dirty dog. Is that a bomb?
What? How's it going, guys?
What episode are we actually on?
I said 4.
Oh, episode 4.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Of season 2. Go ahead.
Which one of our
I was
podcasts
trying
is
to
this for
think of-
again?
This
What?
one's Under the Influence.
Under the Influence.
Oh,
Are
okay.
you trying to flex on everybody? Which one of
Wow.
our podcasts is this for again?
Sorry, I've got so
Is it
many
my money success podcast or
Is it Money with Levi?
yeah money?
Money?
Who's that
Give
guy?
me your money.
Who's that really like the guy that's kind of a
Andrew Tate.
no no the guy that used to do he used to be like the guy people watch on TV for like stocks and stuff. He's like the angry guy.
This
and like
fly?
at one moment he's like go buy this stock and then the next moment he's like hitting a rubber chicken with a mallet or something.
What?
What? How have you? never
Alex
heard-
Jones?
No, not Alex Jones.
Dave Ramsey?
Go buy the stock. No, it's some guy. He's on TV. Way to go, you dummy.
I broke the table.
How could you do this?
There's magnetic side pieces to our table, and I just launched one off with my knee.
Yeah.
Sorry.
How do you not know who I'm talking about? It doesn't matter. There's a
I
guy
don't
who's
know.
like famous for being like, and he's like a total hoax, I guess.
I mean, there's a lot of people that are that.
Yeah.
No. This is a specific person. There's not a lot of people that are what I'm
Ted
saying.
Nugent?
Dude, you don't know who it is. So stop guessing. He's like a guy on some news channel or whatever, and that's what it's called, like Money Time or something. And
News channel makes me
he's
think
always like yelling into the camera, like "Bye, hey!" and he's like pulling the studio camera down to his face.
Oh, the Mad TV guy or whatever?
No, he's a real
Don't
person.
know who you're talking
Yeah,
about.
clearly, it doesn't matter anymore.
Alex. It's not Alex.
Not
Jones.
Alex Jones.
Wolf Blitzer on CNN.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh.
No, I'm pretty sure it was Don Lemon.
Anderson.
Don't
I'm
no.
not gonna try to
Just
do an
let
impression
it
of Don
die
Lemon.
there.
It's Anderson Cooper. I can do an impression of him because it's not racist.
Like all your other impressions?
My impressions aren't racist.
He's just saying that if he did an impression of Don Lemon,
Don Lemon.
It would be crazy.
it would
No, I
apparently
would just
have
be
to
crying the whole time over nothing, over spilled milk. This
Yeah.
is terrible. Yeah. That's my Don Lemon impression.
That's
If you
pretty
like Don Lemon, Nothing against you. I just don't like him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wow. Very succinct.
but insightful.
Yeah.
But insightful.
A butt inside.
Wow.
Wow, guys.
Wow.
So what happened over the week? We haven't seen each other for like
2
what,
days.
2 fortnights.
Yeah.
2 days.
Yeah. Well, we went,
And I saw enough
almost
of you.
2 weeks without recording an episode.
It's true.
And then
It's true.
we recorded one on Sunday,
It's true.
right
Yeah,
before church.
Hug
It was a
out.
shorter episode because we had to get to church.
It's true.
And then we went to church.
It's true.
And then yesterday, I finally caught up to Levi.
That's true.
I'm 24 now.
Oh yeah.
Oh, shoot, my dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Jerry had a birthday.
And now
I am so sorry.
you should be.
Happy birthday.
Oh, thanks, man.
I forgot.
And now, what was I going to say?
And he have his
Oh, and now we're recording again.
hey, I also had a birthday.
Dude, everybody that listens to our show must think I'm an absolute idiot.
I don't think
I
so.
mean,
Well,
You're one of the most out of all the co-hosts, you're one of the most coherent.
last episode, for like 5 minutes, I was like, I don't remember what I was going to say. So until the very end. And then this episode, I was like, we did this, and then we did this, and then we did this. And then, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, we did this.
Oh yeah, we did this. Oh shoot, what was the other thing I was gonna say? Oh yeah, we're recording right now. I just
Yeah.
couldn't remember what it was.
Yeah, sorry for being late. Whoa, my left hand is kind of orange.
We're all kind of late.
Gross.
Agent Orange.
It's probably because of
the
it's all the
caramel?
caramel. Yeah, usually David's left hand is orange, but I've been popping this
for the
week.
listeners, we're having kettle corn business, and so
the three of us.
isn't randomly orange. And the paddle that you stir the corn with broke, so Jerry had to use his hand in the kettle. It's just sloshing the corn
Yeah.
oil around
Without a
600
glove,
degree
just his-
oil or whatever.
That's all
bare
yellowed
hand.
and
Yeah.
skins falling
So that's
off.
it's more than just orange. I just have bones for a left hand. Yeah.
Man, my bones are
that
really
are
orange.
stained with the caramel. It tastes really good.
Yeah. We're taking turns sucking on his fingers.
Ew. That's why they're down to the bone, apparently. Yeah. No, I've been doing the popping this week. Usually, well, David and I are most effective at popping and bagging kettle corn, since we do like 1,000 bags a week usually.
Okay, you don't have to flex.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Usually, we're most effective and efficient if David is popping and I am bagging. But David has been in a lot of pain the past 2 weeks, so I've been popping while he bags. And we're not as fast that way. But yeah, so I'm not used to it. So it's been interesting. It's been interesting to pop again. I enjoy it. But now my hand is all orange.
Wow. So you've been popping off?
Yep, absolutely. Popping off.
Nice.
Thanks, man.
Why is David in pain?
What'd you do to him?
Well, it could be one of two things. It could be the various throwing stars that I buried in his back, or
That did happen.
it could be deep-seated emotional resentment for that.
Well, you've
time.
already hit two things, so it's one of those two. You said it could be one of two things.
Oh, I started to
And then you said two things.
Or
Well,
the
it also
throwing
could
stars I've
be
lodged in his
that
back.
landslide he was in.
Could be that car crash that
Could've been that car
when I
accident.
hit him with my car.
No.
Freak paragliding incident.
Okay, I've been meaning to tell you guys about this. I wanted to talk about it on Sunday when we recorded episode 3, but we had a good conversation. Never really came up, so I didn't.
He's been withholding this story for 2 days from me since I found out about it.
Yeah, Levi was like, "There's a story I want to know," and I said, "No, you can wait." What's funny is I was like, "You can wait till we record next," and then you didn't even know we were recording today, so you thought you were gonna have to wait a week.
I did.
You thought.
You
Yeah.
pathetic loser.
You are one pathetic loser. No offense.
Oh, I meant all the offense. Just
Oh,
kidding.
nice.
No, I wanted to talk about Pendleton. So those that have listened to the podcast before know that we've talked about, the kettle corn business and stuff, going to different shows, we went, to different towns and stuff and did some sportsman shows and stuff like that, where we pop and sell kettle corn on site to people, like fairs and things like that. We just kind of got through our main like fair season. And then now, starting the end of this week, we're going to be at a pumpkin patch and orchard all month long, which that'll be a lot of fun. We've got a bunch of people that don't typically work with us, and they're all going to be there. That'll be really cool. Some of you listen to the show, you'll be there, or you already have been there because this episode already came out. But yeah, or no, I mean it already started before the episode came out. You know what I meant. But the most recent show we did was the Pendleton Roundup, which is in Pendleton, Oregon. Yeehaw! It is a rodeo. Apparently, here's some interesting trivia.
Apparently, it's a rodeo.
Apparently, for some interesting trivia for the two of you.
Ooh.
Let's do it. A yes or no question, Levi. Is the Pendleton Roundup one of the 10 biggest rodeos in America?
Say no.
No. Final answer.
Okay.
Can I steal?
Go ahead.
Yes.
It's actually one of the 8th biggest.
So I was right.
No,
it's not one of the 10th. It's one of the
I get
8th.
the point.
So
I
my
get the
point. My point.
Very good job, both of you.
Who gets the point?
Who gets the point?
Now, if you were in competitive rodeoing, I don't know what the word is for it.
Rodoing.
Now, I actually don't know if any of these things are actually factually correct, because somebody at the rodeo told me these things. I'm going based off of that. So if somebody listening knows more about this, which I think there's probably a few people that do, and you want to correct me, please join our Discord. No, you correct me, please do. But somebody there who works there told me this. Apparently, if, let's say, the two of you or one of you, whatever, was into competitive rodeoism, I don't know what it's called, rodeo, we'll just call it that, and you wanted to like compete at a national level, or like actually compete in order to go like get like national championship status, or at least be eligible for it, apparently you have to compete at Pendleton, which is cool.
Wow.
Because like that rodeo is one of, I guess, the 8 or whatever the number is, that if you want to have a chance for like national status or being a national champion or whatever, then it's required that you compete there.
It's like a qualifier.
I guess, yeah. And it's like 5 days. Now, I will say it was super fun. It was our first time there. So a lot of the shows we've done, they are fairs or things like that the company has been at for years, because we bought the company in like its 20th year of operation. And so everybody there knows your name, and they all want the kettle corn. They're expecting it. This one we'd never done before. We'd been assured, there's been a kettle corn guy there before and all that, so it was going to be great. It was a ton of fun, absolute blast. However, we lost a lot of money. And I only say that, I hope I'm allowed to say that. I'll have to ask my dad before
this goes up?
Yeah, I can't imagine I'm not. I only say that it has nothing to do with anybody that works there, nothing to do with anybody that hired us, absolutely nothing. It is just the fact
It was just that David ate way too much kettle corn.
Yeah, he was eating too much, but we couldn't tell.
No.
No, it's just, there's a ton of factors involved. We are an unknown name and brand there. We were in an area where not a lot of high foot traffic came through. And just there's a lot of stuff that went into it, but it was a ton of fun. And the reason I say it was a ton of fun is because out of all the shows I've done, I think it's safe to say this is the one I had the most fun doing. Mm-hmm. And what's weird about that is I get really stressed out about new things. I can handle them, I think, well, but there's what's the word I'm looking for? An inverse ratio or a disproportionate ratio between the level of how much I stress out and am anxious about something new, or something, especially like a new situation or something that makes me nervous, compared to how I handle it when it's happening. How I handle it when it's happening, it's typically like, well, it's happening, and I just do it. Mm-hmm. But leading up to it, I'm a wreck in my head. And so because it was a new one, and we've been told it was going to be huge and crazy, we way over prepared. We have a really, really big show that we do every year. It's the Deschutes County Fair and Rodeo. And that one is really, really good. And so we went, okay, well, this year, this is how much product we went through. We brought that much plus a little extra. It was the heaviest the truck has ever been weighed down. I was like, all right, I'm very confident in driving this truck now. I have no problem with that, but it's the heaviest it's ever been weighed down. Like all these thoughts are going through my head, like, oh man, what if the roads are rough and I tip the truck or something crazy? You know, the drive was easy and fine. You know, it's a beautiful and flat drive, very few tight turns or anything, but still, we could not have put any more product in that truck. We drive over there, and then we had one of our employees load up her like Honda Civic or whatever, a small car with like 500 pounds of corn and sugar and other stuff to, you know, be even more, because we're like, what if we run out? Nobody can get anything to us because we're 4 hours away.
Yeah.
And Jude's route doesn't take him anywhere near it. Like some of the other shows, Jude's route takes him near where we're going, so he can bring it to us. So we're way, way, way over prepared, thinking that we're not really over prepared. We get there. It was really hard to set up. You know, it was just weird because it's like it's set up in the middle of a 4 blocks of like downtown, like just like in the middle of a street. So they block off these 4 blocks, and so it was just weird. Like not only is this a new area where we typically, like when we go to a show, we get in there, we don't know what we're doing, we set up. We just definitely didn't know what we're doing because it's totally new to us. You know, we were told you can set up by, you know, around 1 p.m., no earlier. We're like, oh, that's terrible because it takes us a few hours to set up. We don't want to be there into the night. Apparently, you can be there at like 8 a.m. or the night before. Nobody told us that. So we got there at 1. Would have loved to have been there earlier. But, I mean, it's just all stuff that, like, you learn when you do it a few times. You know, when you don't do it and you're new, you don't have all the information. But when you're there, people are like, oh, no, this is how it actually works. So all that was stressful. And then we set up and we're ready to go. And the whole show was just like, and we also had like 5 employees, the most we have ever taken to any show. So we had really high labor, all this kind of stuff made it, you know, went into making it. So that for the company, it was bad, right?
Yeah.
There are a few aspects of that I wanted to talk about. But when we were starting it though, it was this thing that, you know, I mean, we talked about it, I think, on the podcast, and we prayed about it with each other because I was very nervous about this show going to it, right? Because I was like, we've never done it, and it's going to be huge. And so, like, I feel like we're going to get overwhelmed. It's going to be crazy. I don't want to fail. I really don't like failing. I don't think anybody does.
What?
But I don't like failing in the sense that it's not even about, because I'm not a super competitive person in most ways. And when I fail, it's not about like, oh man, I need to win. And so failing is not winning. So I hate it. It's usually because I hate failing because I hate dealing with the failure with other people, how it affects them, or having to tell them that there was a failure involved. You know, I really don't like to do that. I will if I have to. I mean, that's part of managing, but like, you know, for obvious reasons. So it was stressful. So that is just, it was just huge. It was greatly juxtaposed to what actually happened. We barely went, you know how I said that we loaded the truck down and then had somebody else bring a bunch of stuff? We barely went through the product that they brought, which means we almost turned around and went back with the truck like fully loaded again. So we went through the product they brought and then a little bit. So like we technically didn't come back with a full truck. But the reason it was so fun was because we had a lot of downtime. So there was a lot of time to get to know people. And one of my favorite things to do at these shows is, and the reason I do enjoy doing them, and I think this is abundantly clear if you've listened to the podcast and the other conversations we've had, I love being around people and like talking to people, talking to customers. I do like customer service. I don't even mind the parts of customer service that everybody complains about. Like obviously, I mean, I've complained about it, but it's so rewarding because I love to talk to people and I love to be around them. And I especially love, that was me this time, I dropped a book. I especially love being around people in the sense where like you're providing them something that makes them happy. They get to try it. Like I know that there's a transaction involved, but I love like people watching you pop kettle corn and it's sweet smelling and that makes them happy and they try it and they're like, this is delicious. And then they get some or whatever. Even if they don't, I just love the experience of it. And so for that reason, every show is always fun. And some are more than others. Like the Orchard one is amazing because it's a pumpkin patch, and people are bringing their kids and families, and it's like it's so wholesome. Everybody is like having so much fun, and there's not the worry like at some fairs where it's like, oh, this is wholesome and fun because there's families, but later tonight there's going to be a bunch of drunks everywhere.
Yeah.
Like I love that one because it's like it's amazing. But Pendleton, you know, I had a lot of fun, and there's a lot of reasons why. But one of the reasons that I find, or one of the things that I find hilarious that happened. No, I probably shouldn't, but I'm allowed to find it hilarious because he's fine now. Is day one. We get there, we're setting up, and we've had just misunderstanding after misunderstanding. We were told can't be there till 1. I call the guy at like 10:30 in the morning. Mind you, we were a last minute addition, and hotels are really hard to book for this. So we were in a hotel 45 minutes away from the show, which meant it was not only our show with the longest hours we'd ever been to, it was early in the morning, and it went till midnight every night. Which already means we're getting back late, sleeping barely, and coming back in the morning. But we were also a 45-minute drive. So that was not fun. So we're 45 minutes away, and it's like 10:30 in the morning. I'm like, hey, I just want to double check with you. We're not allowed to be there till 1, right? And is this the right address? And he's like, no, dude, you could be here already. Get down here. And we were like, what? So we got ready real fast and like reloaded some stuff into the truck, made sure everything was fine. We ended up getting down there. Actually, I think I called him at 11:30. We ended up getting down there like 12:40. Down to Pendleton downtown, but then we still have no idea where we're going. So, but after all was said and done, we ended up getting there at 1 anyway, even though we tried to leave early because we were lost and there's a bunch of one-way roads and I was in this big truck and I couldn't see. It was a mess. So there was that misunderstanding. Then we were setting up. We got there and we pulled into our spot to set up. And because you're in the middle of like a downtown block, there's like really barely any room to park. And then as soon as I pulled in, we opened the big door. We start pulling stuff out. We start to set up. Somebody pulls in right behind me. Literally, I mean, actually, we hadn't even opened the doors yet. I had pulled the truck in and some guy drove in right behind me. And then it was a guy with a trailer with a rock wall. He definitely can't get past me. And then the guy that's in charge is like, just pull over for a second. I'm going to see if he can get past you. And then I look ahead. There's no way I can get out because somebody's parked ahead of me. The guy's behind me with a trailer. He can't back out into the intersection. I'm in the middle. We literally need to just switch spots. But there's somebody parked in front of me. So we had to wait for 20 minutes while, it felt like 20 minutes. It might have been 10. I don't know. While we're waiting for this guy we have to find a way to switch spots and it's impossible. So finally the guy in front of us moves. I drive around the block. Then the guy goes in front. And then after that, there was just reason after reason they had to make me move my truck like 10 times throughout the whole process. So the setup was just like, and I don't say any of this to like defame the Pendleton Roundup. There's just, it's just part of like everybody needs to get in there at one time. Everybody needs to set up. And so it was just really difficult. All these misunderstandings after another. So this all pushes us into like well into the night for our setup, well longer than we would like to be there. And it's dark at this point, right? We are entirely done with our setup now, 6 hours later. And it's because, the season is changing. It's pretty dark at this point. And Dave and I are both just exhausted because we set up the whole thing by ourselves, which we usually do, but it was just a lot of extra stuff because we're preparing for this huge show. And one of our employees gets there with all that extra stuff. And we're like, finally, okay, so she's here. We can unload this stuff. We can go park the truck and we can all drive back to the hotel. And then I go, all right, we've got, money and product here in the tent. I'm just going to say her name. I can't imagine she'll care. I was like, Mindy, can you stay with the stuff here at the tent? David and I are going to, there was no way for me to pull forward and get out. I'm just going to back up into the intersection because it was a pretty dead intersection and it was at night. David's just going to spot me. He's going to wait. He's going to, flag me into the intersection. And then when no one's coming, and then there was like a spot that I was going to literally, it's like I'm backing up into the intersection and then I'm going to put it in drive and go left and then park right there. And I go, all right, we're going to do that. We go over to the truck. I open the truck up and I go, ooh, we've got stuff in the truck. We should get that out. So David and I get our stuff out of the truck, take it over to the tent. She's like, well, you're back already. I'm like, no, we realized there was stuff in it. We go over to the truck. I realize, oh, I need to go grab something. So I turn the truck off again. I walk over to the tent. She's like, oh, you're back already. No, I forgot something. And I grab my wallet because it has my license in it. Even though I'm not driving that far, I'd like to be careful. So I grab it. I go back to the truck again. Finally, okay, We're doing this. It's been like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Get in the truck. Start the truck up. Okay. Took a little while. It made me nervous because the truck was like, and I was like, oh, of all times for it not to start. It starts. All right. I'm in the truck. I roll the windows down. I look in the mirrors. I've got visual on David. He's right behind the truck to the left. He starts backing me up. The first few times David and I did this, we didn't have a lot of experience. I wasn't very experienced in driving a box truck or whatever, but I'm a pretty good driver. David was kind of weird about the way he would flag me down. He's a pro now.
Okay.
No problems. David starts backing me up. All right. He's doing this, the come get me pose with both of his hands. Doing this. I start backing up. I'm right up against a curb, so it was really awkward because I had to slowly back up and try and turn without scraping against the curb because they made me get really close to it. So then I pull forward a little bit, I'm backing up. And I'm doing that thing where it's like when you're backing up, you check your left mirror, there's my guy. I check my right mirror, good, there's still nothing there and no one there. I check my left mirror, there's my guy. I check my right mirror. I'm just watching David as he's slowly walking backwards. And I'm like, okay, this is going fine. The intersection's growing closer. I stop. Intersections, we're about to go into it. Light's red. I go, all right, David, let's wait till the light's green, then back me up into the intersection because it'll be our light as long as there's no one coming from opposing traffic, and then we're good. He gives me a thumbs up. All right, light goes green. He goes, come on, bring it back. I start backing up. I look in the mirror. There's David. I look to the right mirror. Nobody there. I look to the left mirror where David should be. David is gone. In a matter of a second, I kid you not, I looked at the left mirror. There is David backing me up. I look for a second at the right mirror and then immediately look back. He was erased from existence. And I was like, what? And the car, the truck is still drifting backwards. So I hit the brakes, put it in park. I'm like, David? And then I look to the right mirror again thinking, oh, he might have done that thing where he goes to the other side. Because, he was I was going to hit him or something. But it had been so quick, it was impossible. I look to the right mirror. He's not there. I look back. He's there again. But he's hunched over on the ground, his hand on the sidewalk, his left hand clutching his stomach, and he's like sprawled out going, what is completely knocked out of him. And I was like, what in the world happened? Maybe he tripped and I didn't see it, but I was like, no, he was gone because I could see the ground. It was dark, but there was kind of some streetlights in the area enough. And so it was kind of putting, that like those streetlights that kind of put almost
flicker?
almost like a reddish brown tinge to the street. You know what I mean? That distinct color.
That like orange, red, brown.
Yes.
Yeah.
It just so happens that color on David's skin makes him blend in enough. So that I thought maybe I just didn't see him.
David becomes go away green. Like Disneyland. I just can't see him.
I was just like, how did this happen? So then I stop. I'm like, Dave, are you okay? And he's like completely out of breath, like really hurting. And I was like, okay, this is bad. We've barely gone 10 feet. So before where I was like, we couldn't pull out with the truck or whatever, and we'd stop and go. I was like, again, I'm turning the truck off. Here we go. I roll the windows up because we had like stuff in there that I don't want people to get. And the last thing I want is like, maybe some guy.
You go check on him.
Exactly.
And then they steal the truck.
It's like out of the movie. Some guy kneecaps David while I'm like, David, are you okay? And like, here goes the truck.
Tanya's David and steals the van.
So I'm like, I'm sorry, David, give me a second. Rolling the window. They're the slowest windows ever. Like, I'm rolling the windows up. I put it in park and turn the key, get out, lock it. I run over to him and I'm like, putting my hand on his shoulder. I'm like, are you okay? And he's like, I'm my rib. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened? And I look beside him, and I'll post a picture in the Discord for people. There is a rain gutter. Yeah. So the sides of the street where the rain drains down the street or whatever, and they have those like gutter drain things with the metal bars basically. It's one of those. It's a hole, right? It's like it goes down like 5 feet, and then there's water. I don't know how deep it goes underneath the water. I can't imagine very much. And that's right beside him. in it, like dangling there, is like a piece of particle board that's very thin and wet and broken in half.
Oh,
And I put two and two together and realized David's backing me up, doesn't see behind him because it's dark, steps on this particle board that's covering this thing because apparently there was no grate on it and fell in. Oh. Come to find out, of course, that's what happened, right? I was like, are you okay? He's like, I think I'm okay. I think I'm okay. I mean, I'm like, are you okay? He's like, I fell in a hole. Like, and then I felt so bad for him. And
the pit.
Yes, dude, I quoted that so many times. I was like,
the pit.
yeah, so I had to explain to them the whole joke from Parks and Rec. But no, he was backing up, and the city of Pendleton, there was construction going on around that corner where they were taking out, or they're putting in a new sidewalk. And they had, for whatever reason, removed that sewer grate, or the rain gutter grate or whatever, and didn't put a cone, didn't put caution tape, just put a wet, flimsy piece of like particle board over it. And so, because it was dark, David was just backing up. And this is before the show has even started. So I'm sitting here like, I mean, David, because you're okay, I'm not glad you fell in. But I'd rather it have been you than some drunk, that like in the middle of the night, because it's a rodeo, like falls in head first and drowns or something, like.
Yeah, like David's a young spry
Yes,
guy.
yeah, he's a young guy. He seemed okay too. Like he got lucky because he stepped on it with 1 foot. It broke. He fell in. His other leg wrenched up.
Oh, God.
Because he fell in. Yeah. It's a 5-foot drop. His right leg hits the ground and splashes into the water, so it soaked his shoe. And so because of how he fell in, right, his right leg went in, his left leg kind of wrenched up, and his rib slammed into the metal, like the metal outside of the hole. And he's since been to the doctor and been told like he was very lucky. He didn't even actually bruise his rib. He definitely didn't break it. I guess like the cartilage or whatever like that holds your ribs in between them, he perfectly hit between them and like bruised that. So it's still very painful.
Yeah.
But he was very lucky. So for that reason, I'm glad it was him rather than somebody else. He's a young guy. He's pretty. He's a tough guy. He's okay.
And he deserved it.
No, and he's okay.
He's a young guy.
But dude,
He's a good guy.
but that was like what started the show off. We were like, this is a really bad omen or something like.
Incredible show.
And then what's really funny is from that point forward, every single day we had a fall, and so I'm not joking. They weren't all us. That day, he falls in a hole, hurts himself. It affects him the rest of the trip, obviously. So much so that when we get back, we have to start popping for our normal week again, and he can't do it. It was hurting so bad. And he goes to the doctor, and the doctor's like, yeah, just take, the rest of the month off from popping. You can bag. So that's why I've been doing it. Mm-hmm. But the next day, I think the next day, it was the first day of the show. And this is why the show was so much fun. We met the coolest band. They were just so awesome. And they kept shouting us out and stuff. And they were really cool. And they kept hanging around. Oh, actually, Levi, the drummer in the band, he's awesome. The band is called the Chris Jones Band. They're not a Christian band. They do a lot of just like covers, though. And they were doing a bunch of fun covers. But they were very cool. The guy that came over, he talked to us a lot. His name was Charlie. He looked like if our Bible teacher, Mr. Garvey, went rocker. Yeah, I'm not kidding.
Amazing.
David, for whatever reason, can't see it at all, but everybody else I've shown is like, yeah, I see it. But he straight up looks like if Mr. Garvey went full rocker. It's very funny.
Amazing.
No, they were hanging out a lot, and so the first day of the actual show, there's a lady that was, I think she might have been homeless, and she was walking around like collecting bottles, and there was like a bench in the middle of like the area, and since it was dark, she wasn't looking. And she was looking kind of like off to the side of her, and she was walking at like full walk speed, trips on the bench because it's like just about shin high. She trips on the bench and full on like Peter Griffin from the meme, falls, hits the ground flat. She smacked her forehead into the ground really hard. She ended up being okay, like as okay as I think she could be. She refused to go to the hospital, but she she fell, and then the next day, some random person. Oh, I think one of us slipped in the tent. So we're like, this is weird. Every day we've had a fall, and then literally every day. The next day,
Who said that?
It was Mindy. The next day, in front of our tent, a guy who's like maybe in his 50s, maybe early 60s. He I felt so bad for him, but he fell. He didn't fall. He was like trying to pick something up, and then he like leaned over, and then couldn't get up. So we went out and helped him up. And then the day after that, somebody else. The day after that, the Chris Jones band was just rocking. They were awesome, and all these cowboys came out there, and their girlfriends and stuff. They were all dancing, like country swing dancing and stuff. And there was a couple that was going way too fast, and then there was a couple that was just a nice guy who decided to dance with this old lady that had no one to dance with. It looked like, or it might have been his mom. I don't know.
No.
And they were dancing very slow, but he still missed the catch, and she fell. Yeah. So at this point, we're like, dude, every day somebody has fallen. Fast forward, the last day of the show. We have to clean up quick or we're going to get a fine if we're not off the premises in time.
Oh, wow.
We clean up. The entire last day is gone. And somebody even made a joke. We're like, who's going to fall today? Nobody fell. Nobody near us. Nobody working. Nobody fell. Finally, we finished cleaning up. We're leaving. And David and I are like, dude, this went well. We cleaned up faster than we thought. We were a little worried we wouldn't clean up in time. And he's like, yeah, he's sore and hurting. He wants to get back and sleep. We're both tired. We're like, you know what? The show wasn't very good for the company, but we both had a lot of fun. We're kind of joking about it. We're like, hey, and nobody fell. And he's like, yep, nobody fell. We get into the truck. Everybody else leaves. We look forward. The truck is facing that intersection where like we backed out before, But now I'm facing it. A guy on a skateboard comes from out of my peripheral. It's like the middle of the night. It's like midnight. He's just riding. I don't even notice he's there until he goes for a jump off the side of the sidewalk to try and land on like what looks like one of those benches or something to like grind on it. He fully biffs it and falls. And like hits the ground so hard, not with his head, just with his like butt in his back. And Dave and I both look at each other and I was like, David, it was like a prophecy had been fulfilled. We're like, every day one will fall. It's like some way back when some person was like, every day for this show someone will fall. Because we're like, I guess that old witch was wrong or something. The prophecy wasn't fulfilled.
And then
nobody fell.
You're about to leave and
the prophecy has been fulfilled. It was very weird. So yeah, those are my
just trying to grind on a bench and you face planted into the cement.
Yeah, but it's not even his fault. It's because of the curse that lady put on us. It's our fault, really.
On the last day, the whole town of Pendleton fell to socialism
because we all day there were multiple times where like people almost slipped and we caught each other and we were like, we're not going to have a fall today. So I think it's because we kept avoiding fate that we put it on that poor kid.
And that grandma that was
yeah, it's our fault.
That was dancing with that young man. You should have let one of you guys fall.
I should have been like, for her. That looks like it could be dangerous. David, come here.
David, come here. Throw him down a flight of stairs.
Yeah, this is for her. And then she like has the best night of her life dancing. Yeah, she falls.
She does.
Because it didn't work. Oh. I guess we should tempt fate either. Yeah. No, I don't believe in all that fake stuff.
It's like Final Destination. You tried to take the kill away from death, so now death just comes back and does it anyway.
That was a long time. Sorry that I was talking. I didn't intend it to be so long. But those are my stories from the show. I hope they were enjoyable. It ended up
Everyone got hurt. David got bruised. Everyone fell every single day. Chris Jones bands were cool, though.
They were great, dude. They're so awesome. They loved us, too, and we got pictures with them. You know how, like, if you go to a band, you get pictures with, like, the rock stars, and you post them on social media? You're like, I got a picture with these guys. They took pictures with us, and then they posted pictures with us.
Dude. The kettle corn rock stars.
Yeah. I don't think it was like that at all. They just really liked us, and we really enjoyed talking to them. And when they were leaving, the drummer was like... It all started, actually, because they were getting set up, their stuff.
Uh-huh.
And we were set up. This is like the first day of the actual show. And we're like, man. So the way it was is we're on like a street block. Almost right next to us was, like less than half a block away is the stage. And we're like, oh man, they're right by us. So we're going to be hearing music very loud.
Let's hope it's good music.
Exactly. We all were like, man, if these guys are bad, this is going to be terrible. Well, thank goodness they were really awesome. Like their music was really cool. I think you still haven't watched that Snapchat video I sent you, but I sent you a video of a cover they did of 99 red balloons, because it always makes me think of you when I hear that song. They just had a bunch of awesome music, and they did like Bruno Mars, and then they would do Johnny Cash, and then they would do like I don't know, like Miley Cyrus, and then they would do Chris Stapleton, like random stuff. It was really, but it was good. They did Adele. It was a rock star guy singing "Rolling in the Deep."
Amazing.
They were awesome though. So he's over there, and or at one point we're just like setting up, and some guy walks over and he's like, "Hey, do you guys know where I can get ice?" And I was like, well, I would actually like to know that too. I don't even know where we can get ice. So if you find out, let me know. And another vendor walked over. I'm assuming that this guy is a vendor at this point, right? Another vendor walks over and goes, hey, there's a Kmart like 3 blocks down the road. If you go walk down there, you can get ice. And he was like, oh, cool. Maybe I'll go into this Sears. Apparently the last Sears in existence was right in front of us, and it was going out of business. He's like, maybe they're having going out of business sale. I'll just buy a wheelbarrow from them and go down that way and get some ice. And I went, oh, hey, assuming he's a vendor or just a random person, I decided to be nice. I was like, we have a little like radio flyer cart thing. Do you want to borrow that? And he's like, oh, that's so nice of you. That'd be great. Thank you. He leaves. The entire time I was talking to him.
You put that Sears out of business.
I did.
Because you took away that one
sale. No, they were already out of business. He walks away. The entire time I'm talking to him, Mindy was just on her phone, like looking up the band that was about to play. Because she's like, man, I hope these people are good. So she's on their Facebook page. She swipes off of her phone, looks up, sees the guys, he's walking away, and goes, guys, I think that was the drummer from the band. Just like, and we're like, what? I was like, I'm pretty sure he's a vendor. She was like, no, I promise you, I just had, the picture's gone. It's not on my phone anymore. I had proof. That was the vendor. And we're like, okay, Mindy. Like, yeah, right. No, I promise. And so she goes back, and like Facebook had refreshed. And she's like, no. And she's like, I don't know how to use my phone. I'm old. And like trying to, she said that. That's not me. She said that. And she's like going through the phone, like trying to find it. And then she finally gets down to the picture. And she's like, see, isn't that him? And I was like, oh yeah, that is him. So that's how we met them. And then since, after that, he kept coming back and we talked a lot, and they were really cool. But that was really, really fun. No, those are my fun stories or whatever from the show. Something I did want to talk about the show, though, and it hopefully can bleed into a better discussion. Since I've been talking for a long time, maybe you guys can talk for a little bit.
No.
Okay.
That's the episode.
We went to Pendleton
episode.
expecting something really, really rewarding, right? And so we had this, presupposition or this idea in our heads. And we were very, very prepared. And I was very anxious and worried. Until getting there, I had this moment where I went, you know what? Because I've actually gotten a lot more confident in myself when it comes to these shows. There was a moment where I went, I'm not very worried about it anymore. Because I know what it's been compared to, and we can do it. Just because it's new doesn't mean it's going to be impossible, right? And then we're setting up. And I started praying about it because we had all prayed before we had left and been like, just praying that it would go well. And I was just, sitting there going, God, whatever this is going to be, I ask that, in some way while I'm here, you use me, to further the kingdom. Because then I started thinking like, none of this really matters not in a bad way, but
Grand
like
calculus of the universe.
in the grand calculus of the multiverse. I was like, whether this goes well or not, I've been really, really trying to stop just focusing on what I'm doing, like in the world, like what I'm doing secularly, if that makes sense. Like if I'm playing sports or if I'm playing video games or if I'm, I don't know, walking down the street or whatever, I'm really trying, this might sound campy, but I am really trying to think more about like, okay, turn that thing that I'm doing into like what's going on passively and instead try and be actively using that thing for God more. And so since it's like, all right, I'm in a town that I'm not usually in, I need to be looking for opportunities to please God. And then the show, like in the first 2 days, it was pretty clear it was going to be a wash. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, this is really unfortunate because we had prayed about it and it was like, this is a failure and it feels like we are a failure or it feels like something bad is happening to us. And it's coming at a time where it's not like we're flush with cash. I mean, the business has been doing well. It's been good, but it's not like it's not like it's like we're doing so well that we can go do a fair and come back and be like, we lost money, but who cares? Like
Yeah.
it's noticeable. And this is in no way to be like tooting my own horn or anything. It's just, I want to kind of celebrate a change in mindset a little bit for me, in the sense that typically I would really let it affect me. Like typically I would really, really let something happening to me, or at least this is how it feels, right? Something bad happening to me really change my demeanor, the way I treat people around me. I would try not to, and sometimes I'd like to say that I don't, but normally it would, or with specific people, like customers I wouldn't, and, but like maybe people I know well enough that I feel like I can get away with being a jerk, which I think everybody can relate to.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife and kids, yeah. No, like David.
Yeah.
Like, maybe not Mindy because she hasn't worked with us, but maybe David or maybe Lexi. I know them well enough that maybe I can get away with one quick little, like, be a jerk here and they'll give me a pass. But no, it's like, usually that's how I would really let it affect me. And I was like, I got ahead of it. Actually, I didn't. It's not me, right? It's God. And I was just like, this really looks like it's going to be a failure. But we had prayed about doing it. We had felt like it was a good idea. So I decided, well, if I'm here, God, I'm going to completely give it up to you. Because, right, my first thoughts are like, or if we lose money, if this goes the way it's going, we're going to lose money. Okay, the company's going to lose money. Oh no, if the company loses money, this, right? And it's all these little things. And then I went, all right, thinking about all of that. It's fine to go, if we make this much, we lose this much, how will that affect us? And then end the thought process there. Think about it and go, what's the loss going to be? And then go, okay, how is that going to affect us? How can I deal with it? Boom. That's as far as I need to go. Because if I go any farther, all I'm doing is if I go any further in that thought, then I will just be worrying about it. I'll just be like worrying about something that I've almost no control over. Because as long as I'm doing as much as I can to sell kettle corn as effectively as possible, there's literally nothing else I can do if there's not people there. And so I just started praying, and I was praying throughout the day, every day. God, we really want this to explode. Like the next day, people to come through here and it'd be amazing if out of nowhere we made a bunch of money. And it made it so we didn't lose money. But it's like, it really doesn't look like that's going to happen. If it did, that'd be incredible. But if it doesn't, and I'm using what we've talked about, Matt has talked to us about before.
But even if he does.
Right. I'm saying, God, I know you can make this happen. I know you can make a bread and fish moment happen where the last day of the show, we do 10 times what we did every other day and it's passable or something, And God, I'm asking that you will do this. But even if you don't, and I really meant it. I was like, even if you don't, because it really looks like that's not what's going to happen. I'm okay because I have been looking for opportunities to be a godly influence to the people around me. And I was asking God to give me wisdom. I was asking God to give me peace about the situation. And I knew that I was at the end of myself. And this is going to sound familiar, right? Because this is the topic that's been at church. But I knew that I was at the end of myself, right? I had no power of the situation. There was nothing I could do to make it better. So I'm at the end of my ability. Well, it's only God that can do something now. Either he can make some crazy miracle happen and it's amazing, the show ends amazing. Or instead, maybe he can teach me something or I can be used in some way, right? And I'm not entirely sure what that was. Like, I had opportunities. Well, I talked to the guys from the Chris Jones band a lot. I made it very clear that I'm a Christian. That didn't cause any issues. We still got along really well. I got to talk to them about the school I went to, and I like to think I was a good influence, but I don't know. I might be rambling, but it was just a really difficult thing, and I was reflecting on it when I got back, and I just thought to myself, man, I was very different than I think I typically would have been. And I think that's a good thing because I was not consumed by worry and trouble and fear. I was just perfectly content being there And when I had come to the realization that there was nothing I could do, that if something was going to happen for good for the company, it was entirely up to God. And I went, okay. Because it's really easy to be like, when we know that, like when we recognize when we have no power, like as Christians, and then we go, oh, well, then it's up to God. But then we still worry about it anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to get the job I want or whatever. Well, there's no good worrying about it because we know that's the practical thing to think. There's nothing that happens when you worry. Well, I guess it's up to God. But then we still keep going, No, yeah. I was like, no, there's no good worrying about it. It's entirely up to God. And that was it. And it was very, very nice. And I guess it's easier said than done, because it'd be great to be like, hey, let's all just do that more. And I'm not going to do that every time. I'm sure I'm going to mess up and have days where I'm freaking out. But it was just very nice. It was a very welcome change from my normal self. And I would like to think that this is my new normal self. I hope that this is how I can be more often. But yeah, like I said earlier, it didn't go well, obviously. We had lots of fun, though. We got to talk to a lot of people, make a lot of great connections. And we came back, and the company had obviously lost money going there. And then, it was just like, well, I'm not mad, God. I asked for one thing. I guess that's not what you wanted. And that's okay. And, you all right?
Yeah.
Do you want some water?
Okay.
When it was clear, like, oh, I guess that's just not what God wanted. It wasn't, I guess in other times in my life, I'd be like, that's just not what God wanted. Bleh, whatever, and be mad. But I really wasn't, because I was just considering, like, because I knew that it was going to go that way, I was like looking for every opportunity I could find to please him. I was like, well, this is stressful, and it's I could be a jerk while I'm here, but I was looking for the opportunity not to, and I was looking for the opportunity to do some good while I was there with this abundance of time I had, because we weren't working very much, and then so when it was done, it was like, well, I guess that is not what you wanted, God, and I pray that whatever you wanted to come out of that, whatever I was supposed to learn, maybe somebody else was supposed to learn, and I didn't realize that maybe I spoke to somebody, or you spoke through me to someone, I don't know who it was, whatever it was, God, and I just started praying, I hope that I was effective, and if I get the opportunity to know what that was, God, I would really like to know, and God, as far as the monetary loss for the company goes, there's nothing I can do about it. So I just pray that whatever happens, that we are okay, and if we're not, that we aren't worried. We aren't anxious about it. We rely on you. And this isn't supposed to be like a, if you trust God, you'll get money kind of thing. But I will tell you, 2 days later, a check that we had no idea was coming came from a show that we had done before, where they had made an accounting error for a substantial amount of money, where they had accidentally overcharged us for like their cut for a show we had done previously. Yeah. And then we were like, wow, this is amazing. Like, it wasn't the amount of the loss, but it was the amount of like some bills that we were a little worried about now because of that loss. And then my dad and I were like, wow, praise God. Well, yeah. Next week's going to have its own issues, but thank you, God, for providing. And then the next week, another one comes in from a set of stores who never paid us for their order a year ago. And it was also a substantial amount of money. Still doesn't total up to the amount of that loss. And that's just, it's not like I'm sitting here going, all right, now I've calculated it and I'm waiting for that last check, God, to equal that exact amount of money. But what it is it's that he brought us exactly enough to keep things going.
He provides.
He really does. And so, after all is said and done, maybe just a little bit of encouragement, right? Because I was very content whether the money that came in that was surprise happened. Oh, and on top of all that, they were stores that didn't want to do business with us anymore for a little while because there had been some disagreements and stuff. And the door for that, I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but the door for that has been reopened.
Hey,
So like, it was with that second one, right? They paid us for some payments that we hadn't received from like a year ago. And they were like, hey, we'd like to do business again. So it was really, really cool. And it just made me think about, well, I've been thinking about, we've had some people in like the Discord that have been coming in and going like a lot of stuff lately where it's like, God has forsaken me, or I can't hear God, or, God doesn't answer my prayers, or things like that. And it's just like, if you are so fixated on thinking about, or if you're so fixated on, if you're like, if you have already ingrained an idea of exactly what God answering your prayer will look like, that more than likely, I think he won't, or you will think he won't, because you're looking for that. And then if that never happens, well, God never answered my prayer. But until I was like, well, I have no power here. It's all in God's hands. And I'm not even going to try and contrive some idea of what I think, because I had never even considered. It's not that crazy of a thing to think like, maybe God will send me some money I'm not expecting to help. I didn't even consider that. And then that ended up happening, right? It's just that, like, I don't know, in hardship or difficulty, right? It's so much easier said than done. But man, really abide in God and pray and abide in his word. And it is so true that there is so much peace in him when like things felt like they were falling apart. They just didn't feel like they were falling apart anymore. And then things worked out, and they didn't work themselves out. God worked them out. And so that's that.
Well, you're really right in saying that it's not this prosperity preaching that, like, if you just suffer through the hardships, if you just make it through to the other end of the tunnel, then bam, it's like you're rewarded with tenfold what you went through.
Because that's what they say often. Is the like, and may you be rewarded tenfold thing.
Yeah, it's really poetic to me that if you look at it very coldly and mathematically, it's like the checks that we received were not from the aether, right? If you look at it strictly from the numbers, it was money that was owed to us. It was our money that had not yet come in. Yeah. And that we had completely...
We had resigned, too. We had decided,
looked past.
We had decided it was a loss.
And
that's one of them we didn't even realize existed, but
brought through to us. And in a way, he's not just answering... It's not just God answering the Pendleton show we lost money on. Mm-hmm. It's also him coming through and answering, hey, all this worry you had 6 months, 8 months, 10 months ago about these checks that never came in, and it all comes in now. It's almost so much more beautiful. Think about that these unanswered prayers all coalesce into one big, what am I going to do? And he goes, well, I've laid, the groundwork for it all to flow through right here.
Well, consider how then those things... If we were thinking about it then, when those checks didn't come in, like you're saying, and that money didn't come in then, if we were really thinking about it, we could have been like, God, why are you withholding this or why are you allowing this bad thing to happen?
Yeah.
And it's like this perspective thing, right? God's perspective on all of it is not at all like ours. Ours is down here looking up at like what we think the timeline of life is going by, right? Mm-hmm. He's entirely outside of it. So these things are happening, and to us, it's like, it's happening to us right then. We're like, hey, why are these bad things happening? This store just dropped us, so we're losing regular business from them, and we didn't get the money from the last checks we're owed, and because we were suspicious that we had been overcharged for that show, but we didn't want to really poke the bear because we're still the new owners, kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. So like, we just had decided to like, this bad thing happened to us. There's nothing we can do, but in actuality, it happened not only for a purpose, but a very specific one to, like you're saying, be delivered to us when the person who then was the one worrying about it, me, had fully resigned himself to God. Right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if I want to say it's like, if I had done that sooner, then maybe the money would have come in. I think that's ridiculous.
I don't think it matters.
I think that it doesn't matter, but I think it's all just because it's all part of God's plan that I have this realization or this revelation at that time, and then it is allowed to happen because then it's a teaching moment. If any sooner, it wouldn't have been. If any sooner, I would not have been in the place or in that mind space to look at it that way or to understand what this, part of what God's telling me.
I think it's really beautiful that, I don't know if anyone said this, I doubt they did, But to think that those months, however many months ago, when we didn't receive those checks, it'd be so easy to say, I can make it through this month without that money. But why, God? Why
Exactly.
Why can't I just? Why
Have
can't I just do better than scrape by? Right? Why can't I just? Is it so wrong that I could just get this money in and have a little bit more? And we can't see. We
can't see that that's like a nest egg being put away for us.
Yeah. We only see the
In
little
the form of
pinpoints
failure.
where we see God interact, but He's looking out at the whole picture, right? That whole cardboard tube that we're in. And we're only seeing the little pinpricks of light that are coming in. We're just saying, well, I don't understand it.
Yeah.
And He's just looking at this.
And the actuality of it is like you said, at the time that those things happened, those shows had gone really well.
Yeah.
And so we were able to scrape by without that money that might have been owed to us to the company, right? But during one of them, it was like, well, it was a substantial enough amount that we're like, Dad and I were like, we'd like to have it if they do owe it to us. And then we decided we don't want to poke the bear because we'd already had maybe an altercation with these people. We don't want to risk losing the show, and we're new owners. So it's kind of the stereotype to be like new owners come in and they start messing with things. So we didn't want to do anything. Yeah.
The idea that, we don't need it, but it'd be really nice to have. And God is saying, I know it'd be nice to have. You just don't know when.
You just don't know that you'll need it later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have no idea how nice it'll be when you really need it, which is down the road.
Yeah.
Very cool stuff.
Sorry, Levi.
It's pretty cool. So
We've been kind
sorry.
of dominating the conversation here.
Dominating.
Yeah, so that was, now you can see why when we talked about a bunch of other stuff, when we hit 40 minutes last week, I was like, I'll save this for another
Maybe,
episode.
yeah.
Because it was long enough that I don't want to.
And-
knowing me, I would probably draw on the
you
story.
got that last sermon that Matt
100%, dude.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
got
Because
to, right?
afterward, you were like, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy because that sermon was so oh, that's what is happening. It's that sermon. So that Sunday we recorded 2 days ago, right before church, and we raced to church. The sermon was all about how when you are emptied, when you are left empty of all ability or of control over the situation, then it is only God.
Yeah, when
right?
you're at the end of yourself.
That's I was
there's
trying to remember
only
exactly
God.
his wording. When you're at the end of yourself, there is only Jesus. And that was oh man, that kind of wrapped everything up for me in a way. Yeah, I guess that's it for that little story, right?
That whole story into a lesson.
It's cool though, right?
It is cool.
Yeah.
And there was some fun stuff in there. David fell in a hole. It was really funny.
Yeah.
100% when you were telling that, I thought he was going to get hit by a car.
Oh my gosh.
I thought he just...
He disappeared because he went.
You look through one way, you see him, you look the other way while he gets hit, and then while you're looking back, the car goes through the other mirror.
I think I'd
And
hear
then you don't see him.
I looked in my right mirror and he wasn't there, and I looked at my left and there was just this weird red smear on the ground.
Well,
Where'd
maybe he
David
just
go?
Rolled over the top
And
of
I
the car
heard,
or
oh my
something.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
And then you
think
get
I
out
did.
and he's on the ground
And I had heard someone say, "Ow, Jerry, I've just been hit by a car." And I couldn't.
No,
At the moment, I didn't know what
the
it
hole was
meant.
also just before the intersection, so there couldn't have been a car there. 'Cause, where we were was still in the
Well, in my head, he was in the intersection and you were going in.
he was still before the curve of the
Okay.
Man,
Sidewalk.
when Jerry was first telling me the story, I was like, "That's literally my nightmare." Is
Falling in a
having a sewer grate open and
Yeah.
falling into it.
Yeah.
Well, it was open with no cone. We ended up putting a cone and caution
and then
tape on it.
getting
Oh my goodness.
eaten by Pennywise.
And then the next day, the thing sat on it all day. We put the stupid broken piece of wood over it and put a cone on it and put caution tape around it. The next day, it sat like that for hours until some road crew showed up and saw the caution tape and cone and kind of looked at it, moved it, and then
Get this out of here.
They moved the cone and caution tape off of it, left the wood, and then left because they went to go get their solution.
Oh.
But they still were like, "We're gonna need this to be gone." So I was like, "What? Now you've exposed it again?" And so then they came back They came back, I think, 10 minutes later with an actual grate for it and put it over it.
We've got a manhole cover, but this piece of wood's in the way. Let's move the wood and go get the manhole cover.
It's so dumb. Yeah, but No, that show was eventful. Like I said, as much of a failure as as it was for us, it was so fun. There were so many other things that happened, but it doesn't really matter.
You
right
just
now.
had to jump into the sewers like Jean Valjean, pull out David's unconscious corpse.
Yeah. Dude, that would have been a much better
Take
story.
my hand.
As long as David was still fine. Yeah.
I saved you. Yeah.
Yeah, Jerry had to throw a rope down the hole, tie it to the truck, let David grab on,
Oh
pull
my
it out. It was
gosh.
like a 60-foot drop. David was in there.
Scraping up the side of
Yeah.
the hole. Yeah.
Claw marks all over David. It's like, I saw things. I saw things down there.
You have to pressure wash them before you can really
Oh
go
my
into them.
Oh my gosh. All right, David. I know it's peeling the skin off, but this will be better.
Yeah. David was actually fine. Jerry just pressure washed him.
Yeah, that's how I treat my
Broke
employees.
2 ribs.
Yeah. I broke his ribs with a pressure washer.
How close do I have to be? Point blank's probably fine.
Not point blank, no. The rest of the washing went just fine. But
Yeah.
It was just that initial.
All right, David, start popping.
Yeah.
David does the popping or he gets the hose again.
Poor guy. Yeah, I hope he's okay with me telling that story. I didn't ask him.
It's severely
He doesn't listen
embellished.
to this, right?
David's a trooper for bruising his rib on an open manhole. We're just taking that.
Here's the thing. He laughed a lot about it when it happened. And then every day that periodically went by, he'd laugh less and say he was more mad.
I would imagine I'd be the exact same way. I'd get far more mad the less I am from like, oh, it's fine. It just hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah, after days of just being in pain, I'd be like, yeah, it's really funny.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, I can imagine.
No, it was, that was kind of the anthem for the whole show.
Yeah, but in all seriousness, like, I'd be fine if it happened to me, you know.
Probably,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I could
You're
take
lighter.
I could take cement to the ribs and be fine.
It was metal, actually.
Well,
It was the edge of the hole was a trim of metal
yeah, it's
where it
not-
receives the grate.
Oh my god,
That's what holds the grate in place, and metal went right into his stern.
Poor guy.
Thunderstorm to his side.
We don't believe in workers' comp though, so there's no. Like,
No, well, that's a whole other discussion.
Yeah, no, like the city.
We
of
do
Pendleton
have
should-
workers' comp insurance, of course. But yeah, it was a whole lot. But yeah, that's just been going through my mind lately. The whole show, kind of wanted to debrief about it a little bit. It tends to be kind of our tradition, I guess, after every show is, all right, we got to talk about something from the show on the podcast,
Yeah.
and this one was the whole show itself was kind of a lesson to be learned. So yeah, I guess it sounds like this conversation is not getting extended by anything else. So I think we're wrapping things up.
If it's time for the takeaway segment,
That's what I was going to say.
Okay.
Unless, because I was kind of letting things air out a little bit to see if you guys had something
Yeah.
else you wanted to talk about, but it seems like maybe not. So if not, yeah, this is kind of the what have we learned, and yeah, and you made mention of something last week. Like, it is important that we are talking. This podcast, we're talking, and people are listening. But yeah, during this takeaway thing, let's, like you said, kind of be more introspective on like what can the three of us take away. You know what I mean?
oh yeah, no, exactly.
Rather than just be like, all right, listener, here's your VeggieTales moment, what you need to learn.
Yeah, I don't want to just be like giving part of it is the listeners here to listen on things that we've gone
are
through
learning.
and how we're processing it. Because
Yeah.
I, for one, have not I don't come out of every situation like, and here's the answer.
Yeah.
Here's the lesson that I learned, and here's it in a nice, ribbon.
Well, I mean, some of the things that you commented on that whole situation were things I hadn't even considered. The way you were talking about like those other things being nest egg kind of.
And I think it's through us like working that out, talking to each other. I want to talk to each other more and not just focus on when I think it is important to talk to the audience at some point. Like this podcast is, listener, you're not important is what I'm saying.
Wow.
And no, the podcast is, we get to talk to each other.
Pretend that thing was saying boo.
Hopefully we can all learn something through it. And I think one thing is that in search of like a meaning from an event that's happened, we can often lose track of like what the real meaning is, which is to say that you walked away and it's like, well, what I was trying to, be better and not have those little jerk moments. And if you feel like nothing happened, it's sometimes through the very process of unloading that, like this podcast, like coming to us and talking about it, that you can find something. So you don't have to always search for some meaning. Like, man, where was the meaning?
I wasn't anyway.
Yeah.
I was just like, I even said like, God, I'd really like to know, but even if I don't,
it's working through what you perceive to be like the silence or the lack of where was the lesson, that you can often find it. Yeah. So try less to find the lesson and just work through. Well, if you can't find the lesson, talk about it and feel like, and talk about how you feel like maybe there wasn't one. And I think you'll often find it. Yeah. Don't try to search and just
then
fill
if you
one
don't,
in.
there still just may not be one.
There may not be one.
You supplementing a lesson where there is not one is very dangerous.
It may be that you can't see it now and you will in the future, or that it wasn't for a lesson for you.
It wasn't a lesson for you.
Whatever you do, like we don't want to force a lesson where there isn't one, because there may be one there that we just haven't learned yet, right? Like, for the example of that, we can look at those other shows where the money was lost, but we were okay. Mm-hmm. But if I had tried to force a lesson in there, I might have been like, well, and I come up with something. Yeah. And then it could have been more detrimental. But instead, right, you want to just move on because maybe there's a lesson later. And in this case, there was a lesson later from that.
I also think it's important to realize, like, you, Jerry, are specifically someone that can come away from that, at least I believe you to be, and not be shaken to your core by the fact that it's like, well, what did I learn? Right. Because it's important to remember that, God uses us to affect other people as well. Yeah. God knows you're someone that has, in a specific area, you can go through that, you can experience that, and not be completely destroyed by the fact that, well, I didn't learn a lesson to this. And perhaps by you going through that steadfastly, someone else is being affected. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we're the instruments. We're not always the people that get to receive the lesson. You may never learn the lesson, but it's through you that someone else did.
Yeah, we're not always the protagonist, but sometimes we're like the Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah. We can be Miyagi.
Sometimes we're those people that you're looking around and being like, oh, those people actually have lives, even though they're just backdrops to my life.
Yeah. Like we talked about last week.
Yeah. You're sometimes the backdrop of somebody else's narcissistic life. So, no, I'm just kidding. Sorry.
Everyone else is a narcissist.
Everyone else is a narcissist.
Everyone else is a narcissist but me.
But me.
Textbook narcissism. Yeah. No, I think that's very astute, Jude.
See, in this instance, I'm Miyagi.
Yeah. I think in most instances,
I think
you're a Miyagi type.
Yeah.
You're definitely not.
Always telling everybody else to do your work.
Yeah, I'm
Ralph Macchio. Man,
Ralph
why can't I remember his
Macchio?
character? Is his name
I was trying to do
Danny?
Sylvester Stallone.
Dane? What's his name in the movie? No,
Dane Cook.
No.
Oh.
Dang.
What's his name?
Dane DeHaan.
Why can't I remember? I'm ashamed. I love these movies.
Karate Kid?
Yeah.
Mark Rubio?
Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg.
I'm the Karate Kid.
I'm the Karate Kid.
That's
It's
what I'm
3
saying.
a.m.
So I'm the Karate Kid.
Mr. Miyagi, wake up.
Mr. Miyagi, you don't understand.
We got a wax on, wax off.
So I flying kicked him to his face. I had to. I'm just saying,
Hey, I
if
hit the
people on
curb
that
stop.
plane knew karate, it might have been different. If you know Mark Wahlberg, that's
It's a deep cut. Yeah. Something you'd like to forget. But we'll never forget.
Let's roll.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else? Chevy to the levee?
Chevy Chase.
Chevy Chase? Levi?
No, not really.
The loo.
I think we got it.
The lewd?
The loo.
Oh. Levi, the toilet.
I was thinking of, isn't there an art museum? Or the loo?
Oh, the loo.
The loo.
Yeah. Levi, the loo.
Hey, Levi. The toilet. Hey.
Anything from you, Levi? The little boy's room of the podcast?
Hey there, little outhouse.
Hey, porcelain throne over there. You got a word for us?
Yeah.
I guess not. Okay, well, I think we're just wasting people's time at this point.
Yeah, they don't want to hear us riff.
Jude, I think you wrapped it up well. I hope that was an intriguing conversation. And if you feel like we left anything out, then tell us. And if you want to tell us, easiest way for you to do it is find us on
Smash like and follow and put a comment down below.
Yes.
There is in the Discord a whole channel for Under the Influence for things you might have taken away from the podcast or things, that you feel like maybe we got wrong. We'd love to discuss it on there.
And the Discord, I know that some of you who listen aren't there. And it's not just for people to play video games. Discord, I mean, it's an app you can get on your phone, but also it's a place for discussion. Like, that's the whole thing. So there's a bunch of Discord servers that are for anything, right?
Yeah.
Ours is about Christian community. I mean, it's the Christian influence community is about being an online community where you are surrounded by Christians, whether you are one or not. And if you're not, you know, the purpose for us is to share the gospel with you and be a good influence on you. And if you are, it's to be surrounded by a godly influence instead of the myriad of bad ones that are online, right? But the reason I mention that is if you have thought like, well, why would I join the Discord? I mean, if you enjoy listening and you would like to talk to us about that, we would love for you to be there and we'd love to talk to you about it. So like Jude said, there is a place for you there, even if that's the only reason you're there. And we'd love to see you there. So it's discord.gg/Christian influence. Not like what Jude said earlier, where you can find the Discord at Christian influence.
I'm so far
It's
from-
discord.gg/Christian influence, or you can go to our website, christianinfluence.net. You can find us on Facebook. There's a thing called, it's just Under the Influence Podcast on Facebook. And we are also on places like Instagram and TikTok. But,
Send a raven.
or you may
Yes,
send us a
send
raven.
a raven.
Hey,
They'll know the way.
if we ever get to the point where I try not to focus on the numbers, I guess, but if we ever get to the point where it would like make sense, we should open a PO box.
Oh, I was like, if we ever get to the point where like
We should start
we have enough
raising
listeners,
ravens.
we could do
We could
mail
send
by
ravens.
raven, and then we could send them anyway.
We could send thumb drives instead of putting it on Spotify. Send individual thumb drives to our subscribers by
in
raven.
the bellies of ravens,
And, ew.
and then you shoot them down.
So you know what's
You might
cool
shoot
about
through the thumb drive.
pigeon
Well-
stuff, like sending messages back and forth with pigeons? You actually have to have
Nothing?
like a mating pair, and then you just take one away, and then that's how you
do
send the
it.
message.
I've always
you
wondered.
just release it,
That's
and it'll go back.
amazing.
to
They
all
know
its
how to
finest
get.
mate.
How do
Yeah.
they know?
They just have
Magic.
there's
Magic problem.
That has to be impossible.
they find a way.
That has to be impossible.
Yeah.
It's such a wild
Okay,
statement to make
I'm on.
about something
Okay,
that
what's
happens.
what's the range of pigeon
I have
love
no idea.
radar?
I just
60
I just
miles.
know it's like birds have like parts of their brain that's way like more finely tuned to magnetic like whatever it's called.
No, it's not.
What?
no,
Doing
it's
the Jude thing.
no, but so I don't know exactly if it's the location or if it's like they can just find their mate.
You guys
I'm
are
pretty sure
missing
it's
the
more
point
about
by a
the
mile.
location.
It's about true love.
Yeah, it's about
You take
I
a
get it.
pigeon pair.
yeah, but it's super cool. But you can only like do that, and then you got to take it all the way back.
You can only do
And
that
then
so many
send it away.
times.
Oh,
Take it all
really?
the way back,
And then
like
they
for
fall
that
out of
one.
love.
Dude, so like medieval times.
So you just
There
get,
was
like,
somebody that had a
50
job.
sets.
There'd be somebody that had a job that's like, it's like, like winding up a car or something.
Yeah.
He's resetting the pigeon phones.
Like
he's like, I've got all
like
the pairs. I got to
all
split
those
them up.
semi trucks that we've got like that are just filled with chickens.
Yeah.
like just one of those.
There was some
filled
courier.
with pigeons that we're taking from city to city.
There used to be some courier that would be like, like have all these little cages with not chickens with pigeons in them, and he'd have to race them from one kingdom back to the other one.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
They're going down with their cart.
What?
Another cart comes in, hits them. All the pigeons get let loose. They all fly back.
You're
out.
like, I don't know which ones are mine. I guess you'll know when they fly back.
yeah.
What were you going to say, Jim?
It's a funny name for it, but maybe it's not the funniest.
Okay.
Okay.
Pigeon guy.
Yeah, it's like a pigeon, but I was trying to think of another word with a P, and it's got a bunch of female pigeons that he's like dealing. So he's like a pigeon pimp.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I found that.
The listener won't hear that.
We'll see.
We'll see.
All right.
But yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't
that's
believe
pretty
it.
Cool.
You're crazy.
You're crazy for thinking that you believe that. Is there anything else?
I don't think so.
No, that's.
I've got one other thing I wasn't talking about, but I'll do it next time.
Hey.
But I'm going to do it next time.
And we love them very much.
I remember, but love you very much.
And remember,
Oh, wait, hang on. Stop.
until next time on the Christian Influence Podcast, Under the Influence Experience. Roll the outro.
I end the program by saying, you've made this day a special day by just your being you. There's no person in the whole world like you, and I like you just the way you are.
That's a good one.